There's an old saying, money can't buy happiness. Baloney. It can buy peace of mind for you and your family. Learn how to create wealth for your family, how to give your estate away twice, and how to be a philanthropist, helping people and causes without it really costing your family a penny. Our special guest is the expert in philanthropy. I'm Howard Kaye. Get ready to be amazed. Let's go. Hello, I'm Howard Kaye. Welcome to Die Rich with Howard Kaye. Today we have another special guest. Forgive me, I think every week I say that we have a special guest, but we do. Today, the president and the CEO of the, let me make sure I get this right, the Diabetes Research Institute Foundation, Bob Pearlman.
Perfect.
Bob, welcome.
Thank you, Howard.
Thank you for being here. You know, while there's so many different charitable organizations in America today, and worldwide actually, I wanted to have a show focus on philanthropy for a few reasons. While, of course, we specialize in the estate planning arena, showing people how to preserve their wealth for their family, well, while many people say charity starts at home, but let's face it, once there's a certain amount, why not help those that are in need? And we've created so many programs for charitable organizations throughout the country, and I know we've been a supporter of diabetes research, and I thought it would be great if we could get into some of the planned giving ideas that your organization has and how we can combine that with the traditional estate planning approaches that we've created. But before we get into those concepts, tell us a little bit about Diabetes Research Institute Foundation, and I think I even asked you when you came in, is this the main diabetes organization? Because I know there are so many organizations that support the issue or the health problem of diabetes.
Well, we are a unique organization. Our entire thrust is on finding a cure for diabetes. We're a center of excellence at the University of Miami School of Medicine. We engage between 150 and 200 scientists who are involved solely in finding a cure for this disease.
What I find amazing is that so many people don't realize how diabetes leads to so many other health disorders. And many people don't even realize that they may have it. And yet it seems that now almost 26 million Americans have diabetes. More than 4,000 cases are found each and every day, and from what I understand, it kills more people than AIDS and breast cancer combined. How is this the case?
It's correct, and by the way, diabetes is growing at epidemic proportions right now, and we have to find a solution for this, which is why we're committed to finding a cure. This disease is the largest cause of kidney failure, it's the largest cause of blindness, the largest cause of non-traumatic amputation, and the largest cause of stroke and heart failure, heart disease. This disease attacks all of your vessels, and it causes a general weakening of the system, and you're susceptible to all of these complications if you don't get it under control. By reversing this disease, which is what we're involved in, we will save the United States $218 billion a year in healthcare costs. So that's a significant change in the whole economy.
Now you say how it's growing, the disease, I guess in epidemic proportions, so to speak, but what I don't understand is why. In other words, was it just not known 30, 40, 50 years ago, or is it solely related to, aside from genetics, and forgive me, I don't know what I'm talking about on this, but is it really related to our diets and where we've come now into the 21st century with our eating habits? While health is such an issue, you still have many people, I'm a victim of it myself, that aren't under control weight-wise and so on. Is that the number one cause of diabetes?
That's a very big cause of diabetes. The fact is that, as you said, there are about 26 million people with the disease, 1/3 of them undiagnosed at this point, but walking around with diabetes. They find out when they have complications. The situation is that we've gotten into a sedentary lifestyle. And we have an obesity crisis that's going on, and most of the people with diabetes have type 2 or adult onset diabetes. That represents 90% of the people. Our particular emphasis is on the other side of that, on type 1 or juvenile diabetes, because that's the most virulent form of the disease. With that disease, which is an autoimmune disease, you don't produce any insulin after a period of time. So our thrust is to reverse type 1 diabetes. If we're successful with that, it will affect a good portion of the remainder of the population that's suffering from diabetes. And unless people get up and start to exercise and diet, this disease will continue to grow at epidemic proportions. The estimates by the year 2050 show that 1 out of every 3 people in America will have diabetes, and that's a frightening statistics.
Well, if you are successful in reversing, what are the pharmaceutical companies going to do?
They'll find other things. There's a lot of diseases to
Now, I know you have a tremendous support line throughout Florida, especially Palm Beach County, Broward, and Miami. But it is a national organization.
We are a national organization. We have offices in New York. We have 2 offices in New York. We have offices in Washington, D.C. We have activities out in California, et cetera. But our main thrust, our main activity is here in South Florida.
Well, I know you have contributors that on an ongoing basis, year in and year out, are consistently giving and hopefully increasing the pledges that they make. One of the advertisements that I've run for years is your generosity to charity shouldn't be stopped because of death.
Absolutely correct. And let me say that a role model in this have been your parents. They've been very major supporters on a current basis, and they've made very large planned gifts to us, and it's a tremendous asset to have the Kaye family.
Well, I know it's important to them. But what I find so interesting about that phrase, don't let your generosity be stopped because you pass away, is so true when it comes to these organizations, because you may have people that are consistently giving $10,000 a year, $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 or more, yet they make a mistake, no fault of theirs, they pass away, and then what happens to the organization? Where is that continuous flow of income coming from? And that's why organizations such as yourselves are constantly looking for new blood, so to speak, to bring money in. And one of the charity groups that I work very closely with, I came up with an idea for them. I said, before we even talk about traditional estate planning, anytime you have a new donor, and even with existing donors that's giving, let's say, $10,000 a year, how about this? Reduce their gift from 10, maybe to 8, and with that extra money, have them purchase a $200,000 life insurance policy so that you know if they're not here, that $10,000 can still be generated from the $200,000 that the organization can go and invest.
Well, let me say that they don't have to reduce their gift at all to do that. They can buy a policy and make the charity the beneficiary and the owner of the policy as well. And then they can give their premium as a gift to the charity, and the charity will pay the premium.
Yes, but you still want your current income.
We do.
So I was trying to go both ways with it.
You're right, but that will still be credited as a $10,000 gift.
Yes.
And, that's very important to us, because down the road, this gives us a backlog of money that we know will come in, and at a rather inexpensive cost to the donor.
Well, tell me what's happened as a result of the economy over the past few years. It was, 2008 where we really had the crash in the market towards the end of the year, and I know from many organizations and local businesses, as well as throughout the country, everything has been so greatly affected. How have you felt it?
It's been a terrible, terrible situation going on an ongoing basis. There was a lot of growth going into 2008. We were growing at the rate of 15% per annum. In 2008, that stopped, and you go off a cliff a little bit. And it's been very hard recouping, because people are still scared, and the economy really hasn't fully reversed and come back to where it was. So we're looking at unique ways to give money, and unique ways to save people in this situation. And just to give you an example, which you know very well, but it might be interesting to your viewers, there are vehicles that can be very beneficial to you and to the charity. As a for instance, if you have appreciated stock that pays a very low dividend or no dividend at all, and that stock you bought at a basis of, let's say, $1 a share, and it's now at $10 a share, you can give that stock to the charity and set up a charitable remainder annuity trust. That vehicle will allow you to get a deduction for the full value of the stock
And they're
you
not
own
paying
today.
taxes on
They're
it.
not paying any taxes, and also they're reducing their estate. They're taking out an asset. So let's say that stock is worth $2 million today. You can give that $2 million, and you're guaranteed an income for life. And you know there's no return on investment out
Correct.
there in the banks these days. With a charitable remainder annuity trust, you're going to get back a guaranteed 5% per annum. The charity is going to get the corpus of the $2 million. And through your life, and it could be the life of you and your wife or a second individual, you'll receive that income at a guaranteed minimum of 5% per annum.
Well, it's wonderful that these types of planned giving programs have been put together. You know, we created one that we've used with many charities. I call it Give Your Estate Away Twice. In fact, I had a gentleman that called in from the show last week. He said to me, Howard, we have a problem. I have a very large estate. The problem is that it's illiquid. It's all in property. I am philanthropically inclined, but I'm also inclined to leave as much money to my children as possible. What can be done here?
Well, that's what I was getting to in the first instance, because once you give the money out of your estate, you can then go buy a life insurance policy to replace that in your estate with no tax consequence to your heirs if you set it up in a trust with them as named beneficiaries.
I'm going to bring you in my business. Well, it's exactly how we couched it for him. In other words, here was a gentleman worth approximately $25 million. And I said to him very simply, you generate a tremendous amount of income from your real estate empire, and you don't live on all that money. Now, your concern is, well, who knows when we're going to die? Is the exemption going to be $10 million, $5 million per person? Is it going to be $1 million, as it's written in the law for 2013? Will they settle at $3.5 million? Who knows what the estate tax exemption will be? However, I said it's of no concern.
That's good.
Why? Because what I want you to do is purchase or have your children or an irrevocable life insurance trust purchase $25 million of insurance. So is that not 100% of his assets? Now that the trust has purchased the $25 million, you might say, well, wait a minute, how much is that going to cost? Yes, that might be $500,000 to $600,000 a year. But when you're generating the type of income he is off of the real estate, you can handle that. So through these gifts, which he can, because he can give the $10 million, he may transfer his buildings, who knows what he's going to do. But the point is, by making these gifts, purchasing that insurance of $25 million, the kids are covered. Now, at death, what does he do? He either sets up his own private foundation where the real estate goes into it.
Correct.
There is no estate tax on that money. So, in effect, he's paid zero tax. The foundation got $25 million, and now, in perpetuity, his children will be required under the laws of a 501c3 private foundation to give away 5% of that asset each and every year. And I guess that would amount to $1,250,000, which, if diabetes is his thing, that's where the money is being directed. Or if he parceled off a piece and said, I want to leave $5 million to the Research Institute of Diabetes, then that's another way, just like you said, buying insurance for that. But that's where I call it give your estate away twice, 100% of your assets to your family and 100% of your assets to your favorite charity.
You're absolutely correct, and when you explain it the way you do to somebody who has the wherewithal to do this, it's highly attractive. It's really one of the few, shall we say, tax shelters left today,
Yes.
and it really allows you to pass on your assets without any taxes coming off of your heirs.
Now, I'm going to share with you something that I have not shared with any charitable organization yet, although I'm going to, I will warn you. But I discussed it with the gentleman today, and I find it fascinating. And as he said to me, why wouldn't somebody do this? A client of mine from up north, he says to me that he's involved on the board with a university where he's from for the past 28 years. And he's given insurance to that university. But it's imperative to get all of the board members to do this. Well, he was shown some term insurance, and as most charities, no one's interested in term insurance because it runs out at a certain point. So I said, this is not what's going to work for you, but let me show you. First of all, I want to talk about a survivorship life insurance policy. So I showed him a chart going from ages 50, 55, 60, all the way through age 85. So he stuck on two 75-year-olds. Now, I would assume this is a large part of your contributor base
Absolutely.
at that age range. Well, I showed that $1 million of insurance, assuming both people were in good health, non-smokers, for a policy to last forever was $363,000. That means somebody can write you a check for $363,000. You can take that money, purchase the insurance on them. They got a tax deduction based on 50% of their adjusted gross income, and assuming they can take that deduction, they do. Otherwise, they've got a 5-year carry forward.
Carry forward, that's right.
Okay. Now, diabetes has $1 million there, but I showed him a way to keep the policy only for 15 years. Now, why 15 years? Well, number one, when you reduce the duration of an insurance policy, it reduces the cost. Do you know that the price, the premium, one-time premium of this policy went from $363,000 to $100, and if I'm not mistaken, $128,000. Now, you think someone wants to give 128 or 363? But here's the catch.
I can give you the answer to that easily.
Here's the thing. This is what we call money back life. Now, why? Because there's a specific clause in a couple of the insurance companies that says at the end of 15 years, you have the option during a 60-day window to get out of the policy and get all of your money back. So think about it. If you could go to your constituents and say, I want $128,000 at age 75. If, God forbid, while we don't want it to happen, you both pass away by the time or before you're 90, we just got $1 million. But if you're alive and you have no interest in continuing with the high premiums that it will cost at the age of 90, there's no problem. We're going to get out of the policy, and we are guaranteed to get all of the premiums that we put in. So the charitable organization wins, hands down. You're either getting $1 million or you're getting $128,000. If you can convince them to spend the $363, you can have that too. And number two, they they got the full tax deduction on that money. And that's something that we call money back life.
Well, you called me the expert in the beginning, but I just learned something.
Well, listen, the items that you've mentioned already, charitable remainder trust, annuity trust, you know, these are all wonderful ways that people can put their money to work while the organization is reaping the benefit of using that money, but then taking that money and paying out to their family. Now, some go beyond lifetime, some stay with the charity after lifetime is over. There's many different approaches. Let's touch on one other aspect, something that we call structured settlements. I don't know if you're familiar with these.
I am.
It's a form of an annuity, but they're becoming much greater in the charitable organizations, because now, certainly in these economic times, people don't know where to put their money.
Right. And
they're making 1%. And I'm sure you have the same problems that everyone else does. Well, and I will tell you that the different foundations that I've been involved with all the experts out there, and I've been down 25% in my donor advised funds, and I'll tell you, it's disconcerting to the donor, because now I'm reaching into my pocket to bring out more money. In any event, the structured settlements offer a consistent flow of income at a good rate of return, typically now in the 4 to 6% range, but they're backed by major insurance companies. And what we're able to do with that is provide your donors with another vehicle to give to the charity organization, or even one better. There may be people that are receiving this cash flow and determine that while we made this gift years ago, our situation has changed. We need money. Now, you're not necessarily in the position to liquidate them from that gift that was made.
Correct.
I can. I can purchase that cash flow that you're distributing to them through this method of just like buying a structured settlement. So I can basically privatize that annuity and then resell it elsewhere. So it's something that is a new feature to add to your donor base to say, if anyone is looking for liquidity, there is some opportunity. Tell me more about how people come to learn about Diabetes Research Institute Foundation, how they are giving money, the types of monies that are being raised, and really in the organization, is it 85% of the money that you find going all towards research? Is it 100%? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, people find us usually when they have a personal interest in the disease. A child is diagnosed, a loved one is diagnosed with diabetes, and they're looking for the best place to give their money in terms of hoping for a cure for this disease. And we are the best hope for a cure. We're looking for a biological cure with restoring natural insulin secretion to people who have been affected by the most virulent form of the disease, as I said earlier, type 1 or juvenile diabetes. We've got a worldwide reputation because we pioneered the therapy, islet cell transplantation, which has shown that this disease can be reversed. But unfortunately, in order to do that, we have to put people on a regimen of immunosuppression for the rest of their lives, which is not something you want to do unless it's really deemed necessary. So we have the challenge of trying to find ways to trick the immune system, re-educate the immune system so we won't have to use these heavy drugs. And our other major challenge is having enough cells to transplant all the people who can benefit from this. People know what we're about, and people know that we've had tremendous success through the years in pioneering this kind of technology, and they're looking toward us as their hope for a cure.
Now, while people are making outright gifts, you also have a lot of contributions that are coming from private family foundations as well.
Absolutely. We receive lots of money from foundations, from companies, from individuals, and that's what we survive on. And some people can't give the current gift. So what you're suggesting today is a tremendous asset that we have. We have a heritage society where we recognize people who have made planned gifts in their estates that will benefit us down the road. We hope they live to 120, but by the same token, they've taken care of us in their estate plans.
Well, it's so imperative, and that's where the insurance comes into play. But with everything in life, you know, people have a tendency to see red when they talk about life insurance. They don't want to speak about their own mortality. But let's face it, we're all going to die one day. Organizations like yours are certainly trying to make us live longer.
Right.
But at the end of the day, there is an end of the day. And why shouldn't the organization benefit if it doesn't affect your lifestyle? If you can continue living in the same manner that you're used to, then why not give a little something to charity? And if there's current gifts, give the current gift. But I think people need to really focus on what happens when I'm not here. Is that really what I was all about? Did I really intend to only give to charity while I'm alive, but not after I'm gone? And what lesson is that teaching my children and grandchildren?
That's the important point. It's a great way to teach your children and your grandchildren to follow your model.
Well, I want to think about other ways of creating money for the organization. In fact, I'd even love to have a contest about this because, you know, I find when a few people get together and they purchase, and we've done this with many different groups, where we purchase a life insurance policy and we can get other board members and conglomerates together to do this, then that shows others that, hey, this is something that you want to look into. And whether it's the money back idea that grabs your attention, whether it's the idea of giving your estate away twice, or whether it's the idea of the charitable remainder trust or the annuity trust. I will tell you one of the greatest things, and I did it myself with my own foundation, which was I had appreciated stock, like you suggested, and I made that gift. And it was wonderful because not only did I receive a tax deduction, but I didn't have to pay income tax on that money.
All correct.
So that was a tremendous benefit. And then the truth of the matter is maybe we all put things in boxes. Because when I make my gifts from that fund, I don't feel it. It has nothing to do with my everyday living. And I think maybe that's one of the things that people are concerned with. Can I really afford to give away? Well, listen, for most of us here in South Florida, we are able to do more than the average. And if you can, that's where you look to Diabetes Research Institute or any of your local charitable organizations. Anytime that you can give money and help an organization, it's meaningful. Give me some last-minute thoughts just on, again, diabetes research and what we're looking to accomplish here at the end of the day. I know we're looking for the cure. Is it really coming?
We hope so. I can't put a time frame on it, but we are able to reverse this disease. As I said earlier, we've had over 600 people who have received islet cell transplants and have gone out for years, 6 to 10 years without any insulin. And these are people with the most virulent form of the disease. And if we can do that, it shows that the disease can be reversed. The challenges are, in order to transplant these islet cells, which come from cadavers today, we have to find an unlimited, inexhaustible source of those cells. So that's where stem cell research comes in, and we're looking at regenerative medicine, regenerating your own islets, which have been affected by the autoimmune disease, type 1 diabetes. We're looking at ways to trick the immune system so we don't have to use these harsh drugs. And if we're successful in that, we will be successful in reversing this disease for the majority of the people who are affected with it.
Well, I think you're doing a wonderful job. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Howard. I appreciate it.
And I find it very informative. Ladies and gentlemen, please understand that this is a very serious issue. So many of us have diabetes and have no idea. And you have no idea what other issues will be created as a result of the diabetes that you don't know that you may have. Get your checkups, go to your physicians, call organizations that focus on this. Go to someone like Bob Pearlman. You want to see how research is done, they'll take you and show you exactly what's being done for diabetes research. And when we talk about giving, again, you know I'm in that planned giving department. Don't be a victim, as I said last week, of conventional wisdom. There is so much that you can do with life insurance if you just open your mind. And yes, we can give your estate away twice. Remember, the book You Buy, You Die, it pays in so many ways. And just like I did last week, I'm going to give that complimentary to you by calling 800-DIE-RICH. That's 1-800-343-7424. That's You Buy, You Die, it pays. And we do get into many of the charitable ideas within that publication. Well, another show, another week. I'm Howard Kaye, asking you to be sure to be with us next week when we tell you more secrets of how to die rich.